Happy Sunday! Welcome to the studio. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so excited because we're going to be doing some fantastic techniques using jelly prints to create a mixed media painting. So much fun! Right, so the first time I used this absolutely fabulous spray paint from Liquitex, I created this beautiful painting. I was experimenting with the claim that the spray paint could be mixed with any other acrylic paints. And you know what I found? It actually can. I had a fabulous time spraying the paint in with my acrylic full-bodied and my ink. I loved it. It was absolutely fabulous. And then I put the stencil on top and finished the painting. It was absolutely glorious. So why would I not want to do it again, right? This time I've got iridescent antique gold, absolutely fabulous. Pretty excited about this because you know, gold is always good. But this time we're going to work backwards. I'm going to put the stencil on the canvas first with the spray paint, and then we're going to apply some layers of other paint. We might add some collage. I don't really know where we're going to go, but I know it's going to be fun. Now I have a beautiful linen canvas, 30 centimeters or 12 inches square. It's a perfect size for this kind of experimentation. It makes a good gift. It hangs well on the wall. I just love these size canvases. I have quite a few. You really should check out my shop. Like I do have quite a few paintings and you might be interested in. So what we're going to do first is I have this fabulous stencil from PMR Studio. It's called Effervescence. Look how cool that is. I'm just loving the pattern and texture of this. And I also have my favorite numbers stencil, which is a Tim Holtz stencil. You know, it's good he puts his name on it because then I know where it's from, right? So I'm going to add, first of all, the spray paint with these two stencils, and then we'll see about adding layers of paint. Now I've got paper packaging on my table. I love using paper packaging for collage because, hello, it's free. It will take all of the overspray, and trust me, I found out last time I used the spray paint that there is always a fair amount of overspray. Now, you give your paint a good shake. Can you hear the balls in it moving around? Yay, we need that. Now, you want to be in a well-ventilated area. It is spray paint. It does say it's low odor, and it's true. It doesn't smell really bad, but you still want to be in a ventilated area when you're spraying anything. What I love about the spray paint is you can put it as thick or as light as you want. That was a fairly heavy amount of spray paint because I'm like that, and I like thick heavy paint loads. Now I'm going to put my stencil upside down on my table of paper packaging so I can take a print from that overspray because, hello, it looks really cool, and we get to use all the rest of that spray paint because we don't want to waste it. Yes, this spray paint is expensive. It costs twice as much as standard spray paint, but it is compatible with other acrylic paints, and I am loving that. I'm starting to put it more in my paintings because it's fun, also because it's instant. Hello, I love instant. Right, so I've got my effervescence. I'm loving that texture on it. I'm just going to spray some of these numbers on as well because they look really cool. Now, I don't know really what I intend to do with this painting, but I'm just going to start with this layer, and we'll come up with some more ideas as we travel along. I mean, don't you think that's a fantastic way to start? Yes, I do. Okay, now I'm going to let that first layer dry, and then I'm going to come back and start adding some layers of acrylic paint. And You never know, right? I might end up spraying another stencil midway through the painting or towards the end of the painting. We'll have to see how this fabulous creative adventure unfolds. Yay! So I pulled out some of my favorite colors in the golden fluid paints. Now, what I like about this Liquitex spray paint and what we're paying twice the amount of money for is that it's an acrylic paint. It's not an enamel paint like you normally get with spray paints. So if it's not exactly dry, which I don't think it is because I'm not good at waiting, then the paint will actually be compatible with other acrylic paints. So, you know, don't really have to wait too much. Now, what I'm thinking is perhaps putting some fluid paint as the next layer. And if you look on the golden paints here where they have that little marker bar, you can see how transparent or opaque they are. If you can see through to those black lines, then you know that's transparent. And that's really what we want to do, is create some transparent layers. As you can see, the copper here is completely opaque. You can't see those black lines. So that's going to cover up everything that's under it. And right now what we want to do is really create some layers of some beautiful transparent colors to decide what we want to create with this painting. The iridescent bronze is kind of semi, it's like halfway. It's not really transparent, but it's not actually fully opaque as well, because you can kind of see some of the lines. But really we need to start with some transparent colors and see how we go. Yes, these are my favorite colors, and I think this one's empty. Oh man, I don't like empty bottles. I'm just gonna add some water to it. What I love about the golden paints is they're so highly pigmented. You can just add like water to the bottom of these little bottles and the paint is still going to be great top quality. So let's throw some paint on, see what we want to do next. So can you see how those beautiful textures are coming through, because this paint is transparent and you can see the underneath layers? That's what I want to do. Oh yeah, see, there's heaps enough amount of pigment left in that bottle. Yay! Just adding some water to spread it around a bit. So that was the quinacridone nickel ozo gold. It's a really nice color and I'm loving the warm tones. I'm going to put some of the quinacridone violet on it, some of the quin crimson. I know we've got a theme going on, and a bit of the quin burnt orange. That's going to work, right? Because they're all going to be happy to live together. Ooh, look at that color. That's really nice. Loving that color. Just going to spray some water so it spreads out a little bit, because we want kind of thin, beautiful layers of color. What about some? I think that one was the violet. Let's try a bit of the crimson. Oh yeah, it's just a little bit more red. What else we got? Burnt orange. Yeah, baby, that's going to work. Let's put some of the burnt orange on. Oh, yes, loving that color. So we're just creating a layer of thin fluid paints, deciding where we're going to head and what we're going to create with this beautiful canvas. If I cover up too much of my sprayed paint underneath, I'll just add it again on top, right? No stress. Right, that's a great start. It's looking beautiful. You can still see the glorious texture underneath, and I love the way it's creating these marks and textures here. That's from spraying it with the water. It's creating that kind of creeping effect, which looks really cool. So unfortunately now, yes, I'm going to have to let this layer dry before we can decide what we're doing next. Oh, I know, boring. Right, so the paint has mostly dried and you can see the beautiful texture of those stencils underneath in the spray paint. Yay! It's looking beautiful. Loving these colors together. It is mostly dry. So I love the shape of this stencil. I just think it's beautiful. And I'm going to put it again on another layer because that will be fun. The numbers look great under there as well. But what about if we just do like a light layer of the spray paint just to add that texture back in again in some sections of it. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I know I just said a light layer, but you know, look how fabulous that looks. Oh my gosh, that looks amazing. I love it. Do I want some of the number stencil again? Maybe I do. Yeah, okay. Maybe just a little bit over here. Just a little bit. Oh, that looks good too. Now, it is acrylic paint, so you can wipe at it if it's not doing what you want. When you're playing with this particular spray paint, you can manipulate it because it is acrylic paint and you can move it around. It is compatible with the other acrylic paint. So as long as your layers are dried in between, you can put it on and wipe it off if you're not happy with it. I just wanted to take that hard edge off there of the stencil so it kind of blends a bit more, doesn't have that straight line. But I do like those numbers. I like them underneath there. And this effervescence stencil is looking really good. Right, so what are we going to do next? You know, it's looking very Klimt, the way those patterns are. You know, like last week when I did those beautiful glamorous girls that were inspired by Gustav Klimt with the stencils there from Elizabeth St. Hilaire. These lines here have a similar pattern to Klimt's designs. Maybe it's the gold, you know? Maybe it's the fact that I did them last week and they're still stuck in my brain. But I'm thinking that maybe we could pull out a couple of those and put those on here. What do you reckon? I reckon that could look really cool. All right, I'm going to do it. It can only not work, right? If it doesn't work, I can paint over it. So, no fear, people. If it doesn't work, I'll just take them back off again. Righto, we may as well at least give it a try. So I'm thinking that perhaps these beautiful girls that I created last week on the gel plate, just checking to see if it's dry enough, could look really good with all of these glamorous golds and rich warm tones. What do you think? What do you think about this idea? I mean, it suits the design of what we're creating and it could be fun. Clearly we can't have all of them. So which ones are we liking the best to use for this idea? We probably want two facing together, hanging out. What about those two? Or we could put on this one. Maybe this one. She would look nice amongst all of that texture there because she's kind of got that line within this mask there. That could work really well. All right, I'm doing it. I'm just doing it. I'm just doing it. I'm going to put her amongst all of that glorious texture of the stencil on there. That is the beauty of printing the ghost print onto tissue. This is the paint that is trapped under the mask when you've printed your image and you take another ghost print, and then the paint that's left under the mask is what you print onto tissue, white tissue. Then you can use it in layers of collage like this, and it should go quite transparent or not be very noticeable. Now that line is very similar to what's going on underneath there, so I think that would work. And I really like this one. I like the line of her as well. I think I'll use these two. And we'll put them on next in a layer. I'm going to go pull out my matte medium. Yay! Right, now if you have one of these water pens, I bought this from the $2 shop. Oh my gosh, I just love it. Has water in it. It just makes it really easy. when you're tearing something out of tissue to use water to get the shape that you want. Of course, you can just use a watercolor brush, dip it in water. You don't have to be so fancy, but hello. From the dollar shop, I'm telling you, you need to get yourself one. They're absolutely fabulous. It just makes everything that little bit easier. Look at that, see? Amazing, just amazing. It tears so simple. It tears in the shape that you want. Because, you know, I've kind of done things wrong quite a few times. You learn these things, right? And the dollar stores have them so cheap. Yay, that simple. I love using prints on tissue because it does go quite transparent and you can easily put them into collage. And it creates another beautiful layer. And good collage really is all about the fabulous layers. You want a painting that's hanging on the wall that when you look at it, you don't see everything straight away. When you come back another time and look again, you see something else or something new. So when you create lots of layers, it has that effect. See how easy that tears with a little bit of water? I mean, hello. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Right, so we have our beautiful girls. I bought them from joggers.com. All of the links will be under the video in the description if you want to know what I'm using and where I get it from. The information is all there because it's so easy to click a link. Hello, you can research it yourself. But if you want a shortcut, just always look under my videos. There will be information that's going to help you because I am very passionate about seeing others create fabulous artwork. I absolutely love it. Right, so she's going to go on that fabulous textured section right there. And then this one is going to go right here in this section. Now, I like to use matte gel medium when I collage. That's just me personally. You can use whatever's going to work for you, but this is what I use because people ask me, so I'm telling you. It's a matte gel medium. Liquitex Basics, a little bit more affordable, and we like affordable. Yes, we do. So I'm just going to put these on here, I'm thinking. And then we're going to add some more paint and blend them into the layer that's underneath them and create another layer that is over them. Clearly, your layer has to be dry before you start slapping on the matte gel medium, or else you're just going to be smudging paint everywhere. Yeah, and yes, I have done that before. But not today. Not today. I waited till it dried. Blasted it with my heat gun and away we go. Right, the girls are in place. They're all glued down with my fabulous matte gel medium. That will have to dry before we decide what we're going to do next. Now, don't stress out if you tear some of your tissue or it doesn't lay down as perfectly as you wanted because it's collage. We can fix it. If something doesn't work, you can add another layer or some more paper or some paint. There are hundreds of ways to fix things. If it doesn't go right exactly how you want, just wait for it to dry and then add another layer or change it. No stress, you can fix it. It's all about the process of creating the art and having a beautiful time. Now, I'm liking these girls. I think they're fabulous. What do we want to do next? We could add some more layers of paint. Quite happily, I could do that. The tissue has to dry before we can do that. So again, we're waiting. Man, this process is a lot of waiting in this process. There's quite a few ways we can add paint to this. We can add it with the fluid paint. We can add some more fluid paint. We can add some full body paint. We can add some opaque layers over the top. Oh, It's just endless. The girls have dried up beautifully, and as you can see, the tissue goes very transparent. I'm loving it. This is so much fun. Look how great the texture looks of the stencils. Now I want to put a layer of thick acrylic paint that's mixed with pouring medium. Yes, I've decided that's what we're doing, right? But in order to do that, first of all, we want to seal this layer. So I've got some gloss varnish in my bowl here and my brush. And what I'm doing is just putting a layer of gloss varnish over the beautiful girls and my thin layer of paint, because I want to seal this layer. To put the next round of paint over the top, I first of all want this layer to be completely sealed, or else it can cause a very negative reaction. Now, the process I'm about to do and show you, I have quite an in-depth class on my Skillshare. If you're interested in wanting to learn it more in depth, have a look at my Skillshare. There's more classes there that take you more step by step in deeper. Learn more, go deeper. Basically, I absolutely love Skillshare because I can spend way more time on different subjects and we can get a lot deeper into the techniques of things. So have a look there. I've got 10 classes on Skillshare and they're fabulous. Righto, so I just put, as you can see, a very light layer of gloss varnish on that because I want to seal this before we get really crazy and experimental with our pouring medium. Yay! Right, the varnish is dried on my girls and it's all looking rather beautiful. Now the next section is going to require a little courage and some preparation. This is the secret sauce. We're going to use the Liquitex pouring medium and we're going to create a beautiful layer of acrylic paint that's transparent in some areas and opaque in others, because I still want to be able to see these fabulous textures that are underneath. And hopefully I won't cover my girls too much. Now this medium is really tough on brushes, so I use very cheap hard bristle brushes from the dollar shop, because the pouring medium kills your brushes. Don't use good brushes. I use them until they're absolutely solid, stiff, hard like a stick, and then I throw them away. I do wash them after I've used them with the pouring medium, but they still go really solid hard. So just know that. Use cheap dollar store brushes. And what I like to do is put a little of the pouring medium into glass jars so I can then add the other paint or colors that I want to mix with it, because then you can seal the jars and you can use it again next time. You might only use a little bit of each color, or you might use a lot, but at least you've got options. If it's in a jar, you can seal it. I put it in my cupboard, I use it again next time. That's what I like to do. Now I've got some nickel ozo gold. That's the golden that we've been using already, and little few drops in here with the pouring medium. Look at that, beautiful, just beautiful. Now this one will be nice and transparent. I also have some of the bronze. That'll be this Liquitex bronze ink here. I've got some in a little bit of here of the pouring medium. That will be less transparent. You need to remember this because you don't want to cover up areas that you want to keep. Now, if I use the copper, this copper is not transparent, it's completely opaque, and it will cover areas. So you don't want to put that on the face or on the areas that you want to keep. I also have some beautiful deep violet. Love this color. I just love it. I know you probably know that already. And muted pink. This muted range of the Liquitex inks are fabulous. As you can see, mine is empty. Okay, so I have some of that in here. Now, what I like to do is start by putting the pouring medium on in areas that I really want to keep. I want to keep her face. I don't want her face to be too covered up. So I'm going to put the pouring medium just on by itself in the areas that I'm really hoping I don't mess up. This is very experimental, just know that. It's also very messy. You might want to wear gloves, and the pouring medium is expensive, just letting you know. But it's highly experimental. I love it. I have my canvas on some little wood bits because it does pour over the side. It's pouring medium, right? That's what it does. And you want to have it up on something. Otherwise, it pulls under the canvas and then it goes rock hard, and that's never good. So I've got some of just the medium on there. I'm going to put some of the beautiful nickel azo gold on here. And basically, the thing with this particular technique, it's the only time that I will actually say less is more. And that is because if you put on too much, you will obliterate completely what it is you've just created, and that is never good if you're wanting to keep it. So you just kind of go a little bit tentatively around your canvas, adding some sections of these colors that you want. And then what you're going to do is tip it and move it so that it runs into each other and it makes a beautifully organic pattern. It is experimental. It doesn't always go exactly how I want, but I have created some quite amazing paintings with this technique. And if you allow yourself to really create freely without stressing out about, controlling every moment of it, you can sometimes create something incredibly powerful that you wouldn't have if you hadn't allowed yourself to be experimental. So there you go. I am all about let's try it and see. And if it doesn't work, we can commiserate together. Now, sometimes I do get a little carried away and put on too much. Yes, that has happened. But what can you do? You have to try these ideas. Now, what I want to do is add some of, what did I put in here? Oh, I put a little bit of the Quin Crimson. Tiny bit in there, I think I did. I think that's what I did. What did I say about, yes, it's going to be experimental. Now, the colors will all blend together, and hopefully we'll still see some of those beautiful elements underneath when it's all done. Now, the bronze is going to be more opaque, so you want to be careful where you're putting that if you don't want it to cover up areas that you want. See, I'm putting it more towards the outside because the metallic does look fabulous, and I do think we need some copper. Just a little splash. You know, these beautiful girls were inspired by Gustav Klimt, so we need the metallic. It's just going to be wrong to not have it in there. So we're going to put a little splash of that. Pretty sure that's going to be enough to cover the canvas. So I'm going to move it around, let it run where it wants to go. And the areas where it was just the pouring medium by itself, you can see it looks quite white, but that will dry clear. I do like the way the metallics mix in with the paint, and it changes as it dries. Now, you really need to make sure you have a flat area that you're working on, because wherever the level is, the paint will run as it's drying. This is definitely enough paint on the canvas. I'm just going to run it over them, and then I'm going to run it back because I want the clear section to be over their faces. But, you know, this is fluid paint. Nothing ever really exactly goes how you want entirely. So just remember that. Okay, well, I think that is covered rather well. You can see where I have left the clear sections are looking white. You also want to make sure you pop any bubbles that happen like that, because otherwise as it dries it's going to stay like that. You can play with it for a little while it's drying, but once it starts to really get some solid form, you have to leave it alone, even if you're stressing over it, because otherwise you're going to upset the balance. Just going to add a tiny bit more of the clear medium. And then you might want to just make sure your edges are covered. Now you can poke at it for a little while, but you can't poke at it for long, because once it starts to set, you need to leave it alone so it can do its thing. Just remember, if you have it level, it's better. Otherwise it's going to run entirely in one direction. You're going to find out very quickly if your table is level or not, because it'll be running in that direction. So I'm thinking I'm okay. The table's fairly level. I think we're doing all right. I didn't put too much on. And I've got to leave it now and let it dry completely. This will have to stay overnight. So you want to make sure that you can leave it overnight. You want it nice and flat. You want to make sure there's no bugs that are going to get into it, because, oh man, I hate that. When bugs get in it and they stick in it, oh, that annoys me so much. Yes, that has happened. Right? So we'll let that dry and we'll have to come back tomorrow and see if I'm happy or not. Okay, so my beautiful painting has dried overnight and I'm really happy with how it's looking. What I love about this particular technique is the beautiful smooth surface that the pouring medium creates. It's very thick, it's resinous looking, it's very shiny. You may or may not like that. I love it. I just love it. I just love it. It makes me happy. It's full of rich color. And I love the way it's one smooth textured surface. It's fabulous. The prints on the tissue worked well. They didn't buckle, which is fabulous. Sometimes your prints, when you do this particular technique, will buckle if you don't seal them. So don't forget to do that extra layer with the gloss varnish, because that seals the papers and it will stop them from buckling, because that's never fun. But these worked out well. You can see it's flat. They didn't buckle. Yay. I love the way you can still see the fabulous texture of the stencil in the background. You can see it through here as well. And you can see the glorious numbers on this side. Yay! You can just see the different tones of the colors. There's the violet and the crimson. We've got the fabulous Ozo gold there, and then some of the muted pink. So it worked really well. But the downside of this technique is it's not totally controllable. As you can see, I wanted this section here to stay light white, but it moved over more because it is fluid paint. So it ended up being just off center off her face. I don't think that's too bad. It stayed there where I wanted it to be. So, you know, it's okay. It's okay. The bronze has blended nice in the colors. They are a lot more transparent, these colors. Now, if you want to achieve that, you use more of the pouring medium, less of the paints or the inks. If you want to achieve more of a painterly effect, like this one here, this one I've used the same technique and it's got more paint and less medium. Then it's thicker, it's more opaque. So it's going to depend on what you're trying to achieve. With this one, I wanted the transparency. I wanted to be able to see the layers of the stencils. I wanted the girls to be seen on the tissue, because sometimes I can obliterate everything. I know. Sometimes I've done this technique and I've painted over the whole lot because my paint was too thick. So depending on what you're trying to achieve, I'm pretty happy with this because it's got these transparent layers, lots of them, and I'm loving the feel of it. It's nice and warm. They're having chitty chats, maybe a conversation. So what do you reckon? Do you love my girls? What about a title for my painting? You should put one in the comments. What will we title it? The conversation, hanging out. What about life's better with friends? Yeah, that sounds like a really good title, because that is why I do what I do. I love having you in my space. I love that you're in my studio. I love that I get to share my art with you because it's really fun. So I'm thinking, let's call it Life's Better with Friends. Yay! I think it's a successful little painting. I'm pretty happy with it. If you want more info, don't forget to check out the description under the video for all of the different paints and inks that I used and the stencils and where you get the masks from. All the info will be there. Also, look at my Skillshare class if you want more of this type of class or this technique. And there's also a playlist on YouTube. I'll link that as well, because in the playlist, I do this same technique with portraits. They're fabulous. I love them, especially of my beautiful little treasure. So that's the same technique, just using a different print. Hello, it's so versatile. All of these techniques that I show you, you can really use for your own individual expression. Yay! So thanks for joining me today. I've absolutely loved creating this. I hope you've enjoyed it. I love that you're hanging out with me, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for joining me today. I'm really glad to have you in my studio. Life is just better with friends. I love the painting we created. Don't forget to check out the links in the description and all the information for whatever you might need. And there's discount codes. So I'll see you next week.